Remember the strike that crippled ports up and down the East Coast and the Gulf? Well, they didn't solve it, they just pushed pause. Now the dock worker strike is set to resume on January 16th. Good evening, I'm Ty Russell.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Thank you for joining us tonight. Back in October, the International Longshoremen's Association went on strike for 3 days.
It temporarily paralyzed 36 ports along the East and Gulf coasts. Those ports, including the Port of Tampa Bay, reopened days after a tentative deal was reached. 8 on Your Side investigator Brittany Muller joins us now here in the studio. And Brittany, that deal only goes until January 15th.
Hi, Jen, that's exactly right. The underlying issues still remain, and it could cause some major implications across the country, the state, and here locally in Tampa Bay in the matter of weeks.
Back in October, dock workers along the East and Gulf Coast had demanded a fair contract, higher pay, and to stop port automation.
No contract, no work!
The ILA is fighting for respect, appreciation, and fairness in a world in which corporations dead set on replacing hardworking people with automation.
3 days later, the International Longshoremen's Association and the United States Maritime Alliance said both sides reached a tentative agreement on pay and agreed to extend their current contract until January 15th. But as that deadline approaches, a new deal will need to be reached or another strike could happen.
So both sides are doing what's called, priming and anchoring, trying to get the other side to go as high or as low as they want them to.
Workforce commentator Thomas Fellows says if a deal is not met by the 15th, consumers could see serious supply chain disruption by early February. We're talking about fuel, construction materials, and agricultural products.
Port Tampa Bay is extremely important to Tampa Bay because it serves as a critical gateway for imports and exports.
The union workers then had called it a fight for American workers, and that so-called fight could soon begin again.
We're protecting jobs, we're protecting our families and the communities that we work for because it can happen to anybody else. So that's the first thing. Wages is second.
Again, the deadline is on January 15th for both sides to reach an agreement. If not, another strike could happen on the 16th.
And Brittany, I know many businesses in the state of Florida are closely watching this. I remember Governor Ron DeSantis, he deployed the Florida National Guard when this strike was happening back then. So how are others weighing in?
Right. Just a few weeks ago, President-elect Donald Trump shared his support for the ILA union workers. So we're going to be monitoring this very closely to see how this all plays out.
Yes, indeed, we will.
Still a couple of weeks, though, for them to try to iron out a deal if it's possible.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. If you have something you want Brittany to investigate, call our 8 on Your Side helpline at 1-800-338-0808.